The first time I tasted almonds in my morning coffee, I thought it was a mistake. I was sitting at my kitchen table, the same table where I'd fed 3 children, celebrated 20 anniversaries, and signed my husband's death certificate 5 years ago. The coffee was from the expensive Italian blend my daughter-in-law Victoria had brought over the week before. A gift, she'd said, because she cared. I took another sip. That strange, bitter almond taste again. My hand started trembling. Not from age, I was only 62, sharp as ever, but from a memory I'd been suppressing for 3 weeks. A memory of my son Marcus's wife standing in my kitchen at midnight, her silhouette framed by the refrigerator light, doing something to the coffee canister. When I'd called out, she'd jumped, laughed nervously, and said she was just making sure I had enough for the morning. I set the cup down and stared at it, and that's when I realized Victoria had been trying to kill me for months. Let me take you back 6 months, to when this nightmare truly began. My son Marcus had always been ambitious, top of his class, Harvard MBA, now a senior partner at a prestigious investment firm in Manhattan. When he brought Victoria home 3 years ago, I wanted to love her. I really did. She was beautiful, glacially sewed, with platinum blonde hair and eyes like winter frost. She spoke 4 languages, had a master's in art history, and came from old money, the kind of money that didn't need to announce itself. But there was something in the way she looked at my home. This brownstone in Brooklyn Heights that my late husband Robert and I had bought in 1989 for $340,000. Now worth close to $4.5 million. The way her gaze would linger on the crown molding, the original hardwood floors, the garden in the back that I'd cultivated for 30 years. Such a shame it's so outdated, she'd said once, running her finger along my grandmother's credentials. But the bones are good. With the right renovation, it could be spectacular. I'd smiled tightly. I like it exactly as it is. That was the first crack in our relationship. But I'm a mother. We make allowances. We forgive. We bend until we break. The real trouble started when Marcus mentioned they were looking at apartments. Condos in Manhattan are insane right now, Mom. He'd said over Sunday dinner, Victoria's pregnant, and we need more space than our current place. My heart had soared at the news, my first grandchild. But before I could speak, Victoria had cut in, her voice honey-sweet and laced with poison. Your mother has all this space, darling, 4 bedrooms she never uses, and she's here all alone. The table went silent. My other 2 children, Rachel, my middle child, and Thomas, the youngest, both stiffened. Victoria Marcus started, but she pressed on. I'm just saying it would make sense, financial sense, family sense. She turned to me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. You'd want to be close to your grandchild, wouldn't you, Eleanor? The way she said my name, like she was already the lady of this house, and I was just a guest she was being generous enough to tolerate. Mom owns this house, Rachel said sharply. Rachel had always been my defender, fierce and loyal. It's hers. You can't just— I'm not suggesting anything improper, Victoria said, her voice hardening. Just that at Eleanor's age, maintaining a house this size must be exhausting. We could help. We could all live together. It would be beneficial for everyone. I'm 62, not 90, I'd snapped, and I'm perfectly capable of managing my own home. The evening had ended badly, but I'd thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. The incidents started small. First, my real estate agent called to say someone had requested an evaluation of my property. I hadn't requested anything. When I investigated, the inquiry had come from an email address I didn't recognize, but the name on the account was mine. Then my attorney called. Apparently, I'd scheduled an appointment to discuss transferring property titles, except I hadn't. Mom, you're getting forgetful, Marcus had said when I confronted him about it. His tone was gentle, patronizing. It's normal at your age. Maybe you did these things and just don't remember. I remember perfectly well, I'd said. Someone is impersonating me. Who would do that? Victoria had asked, her face a picture of concern. Unless— have you been feeling confused lately? Any memory lapses? That's when I noticed she was holding a small notebook. She'd been writing things down, documenting my supposed confusion. The realization hit me like ice water. They were building a case that I was incompetent, that I needed someone to take over my affairs, that I needed to sign over my house. But I had no proof, just paranoia, my children would say. Just an old woman imagining conspiracies. So I stayed quiet, and I watched. That's when I noticed the coffee. Victoria had started bringing over groceries, just helping out, she'd say. She'd organized my pantry, thrown out expired items, restocked my coffee, always coffee. The Italian blend, she insisted, was better for my health, less acidic. I started feeling sick, headaches, dizziness, nausea that would hit me in waves. My doctor ran tests, everything came back normal. Stress, he'd said, perhaps anxiety, but I wasn't anxious, I was being poisoned. Cyanide poisoning has early symptoms that mimic dozens of other conditions. I knew this because my late husband had been a pharmacologist. We'd had countless conversations about toxins over our 37 years of marriage. Cyanide in small doses causes headaches, dizziness, nausea. It smells and tastes like bitter almonds, and Victoria had a degree in chemistry before she switched to art history. I'd seen it on her CV when Marcus first brought her home. I stopped drinking the coffee that day, poured it down the sink, rinsed the cup, and started buying my own coffee from a sealed container that I kept hidden in my bedroom. Within 3 days, I felt better. Within a week, I felt normal, and that's when I started planning. I couldn't go to the police with suspicions. I needed proof, so I did what any mother protecting her life would do. I turned my home into a trap. I installed hidden cameras, tiny things, ordered from Amazon, tucked into picture frames, smoke detectors, and the decorative vase on my kitchen counter. I documented everything, every visit, every conversation, every moment Victoria spent alone in my kitchen. That took 2 weeks. On a Tuesday evening, when she thought I was at my book club, the cameras caught it all. Victoria, entering my home, with the spare key Marcus had given her, going straight to my pantry, and carefully measuring a white powder into my new coffee container, the one I'd deliberately left out, unopened, to see what she'd do. She worked quickly, efficiently, like someone who'd done this before. Then she closed the container, wiped it down, and left. I had her. That night, I called Marcus. Come to my house tomorrow. Bring Victoria. We need to talk. Mom, what's this about? He'd asked, concerned. Just come, 10 o'clock, don't be late. I also called Rachel and Thomas, and my attorney, and someone else, someone whose involvement I knew would change everything. The next morning, they all arrived. Marcus and Victoria came together, her hand protectively over her barely visible baby bump. Rachel and Thomas came separately, confused but supportive. My attorney, Richard Chen, arrived with his briefcase and his impeccable three-piece suit, and then the last guest arrived, Detective Sarah Morrison, from the NYPD, a friend of Rachel's from college. Victoria's face went white. What is this? Marcus demanded. Mom, what's going on? I stood at the head of my dining room table, the same table where I'd fed this family for decades, and I looked at my daughter-in-law. Victoria has been poisoning me, I said quietly. For 3 months, she's been putting cyanide in my coffee, trying to kill me slowly so it would look like natural causes, so that Marcus would inherit this house, so they could have what they wanted, without waiting for me to die naturally. The room erupted. Marcus was shouting. Thomas was on his feet. Rachel was staring at Victoria with pure horror, but Victoria started laughing. It was a terrible sound, manic and broken and utterly chilling. You stupid woman, she hissed. You have no idea what you've done. I have video evidence, I said. I have the tampered coffee container. Detective Morrison has already sent it to the lab for analysis. Victoria's laugh died. She looked at Marcus, and something in her expression shifted, something desperate. Tell her, she said to him. Tell her the truth. Marcus's face had gone ashen. Victoria, don't tell her, Victoria screamed. And that's when my son, my firstborn, the boy I'd raised to be honest and good, said the words that shattered my entire world. Mom, we needed the money. I needed it. I'm being investigated for embezzlement. I took $3.2 million from client accounts. If I don't pay it back in 60 days, I'm going to prison for 20 years. The silence that followed was deafening. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. My son, my brilliant, successful son, was a thief, and he'd been planning to murder me to cover his crimes. Marcus, I whispered. He wouldn't look at me. It was supposed to be an investment, a sure thing, but it fell through, and now the money's gone. If we sell this house, split it with Rachel and Thomas, I get enough to pay everything back and make it go away. But you wouldn't sell, you wouldn't even consider moving, and we're out of time. Mom, I'm out of time. So you decided to kill me. My voice broke. You decided I was worth more dead. It wasn't like that then. What was it like? Rachel shouted. She was crying, furious. You were going to murder our mother for money. I was trying to save our family, Marcus roared. If I go to prison, everything's over. Victoria, the baby, my career, everything. I thought we thought if Mom died peacefully, it would look natural. She's been sick anyway because your wife was poisoning her. Thomas was shaking with rage. Victoria stood up, her hand still on her stomach. I did what I had to do for my family, for my child, for our future. You people, and your pathetic sentimentality. Eleanor is 62. She's lived her life. My child deserves a future more than she deserves to keep a house she's too old to maintain anyway. I stared at this woman, this monster my son had married and chosen over me. Detective Morrison, I said quietly, arrest her. Mom, please. Marcus grabbed my arm. Please, you can't do this. I'll go to prison. The baby will grow up without a father. You can't. I pulled my arm away. You made your choice when you let her poison me. When you decided I was disposable. Victoria was screaming as Detective Morrison handcuffed her. You're killing your grandchild's future. You, selfish bitch. You're supposed to sacrifice for your children, not my life, I said. Never my life. As they took her away, Marcus fell to his knees. Mom, please, please help me. I'm begging you. I looked at my son, this stranger in my son's body, and I felt something inside me die. I can't help you, Marcus. You did this to yourself. But that wasn't the end, because nothing is ever that simple. The next day, my attorney Richard came to my house alone. Eleanor, we need to talk, he said, his expression grave, about Marcus's situation. What about it? The investigation into his embezzlement is real. But I did some digging. He paused. The $3.2 million he took, it's more complicated than he told you. My stomach dropped. How? Marcus took the money. Yes, but someone manipulated him into doing it. Someone who convinced him it was a legitimate investment opportunity. Someone who set him up to take the fall. Richard pulled out a folder. Inside were financial documents, emails, transaction records, and at the center of everything was a name I recognized but had never paid much attention to. Victoria's father, Charles Whitmore. Charles Whitmore is being investigated by the FBI for running an investment fraud scheme. Richard explained. He's been using family members and their associates to move money, hide assets, and create fall guys. Marcus wasn't just stealing to cover a bad investment. He was unknowingly laundering money for Whitmore's operation. Victoria knew. She got Marcus involved, let him take the fall, and was planning to use your house to disappear the remaining funds. I felt like I'd been punched. Victoria set him up. She married him because he had access to wealthy clients and a clean reputation. She got pregnant to cement the relationship, and when everything was about to collapse, she decided you were the emergency exit. Sell the house, pay back enough to avoid immediate prosecution, and disappear before the FBI closes in. Does Marcus know? I don't think so. I think he genuinely believes he made a mistake and she was helping him fix it. I sat down heavily. My son was a fool, but maybe not the monster I'd thought. Maybe he was a victim too, just as much as I was. What do I do? I asked. That depends, Richard said carefully, on whether you can forgive him. I visited Marcus in jail 3 days later. He looked terrible, hollow-eyed, unshaven, broken. When he saw me, he started crying. I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry. I sat down across from him, separated by bulletproof glass and years of betrayal. Victoria set you up, I said flatly. Her father is running a fraud scheme. She used you to launder money, and she was planning to frame you for all of it while they disappeared with the funds. Marcus's face went from shock to horror to devastation in seconds. No, that's not. She loves me. We're having a baby. The baby might be real, but her love isn't, I said. She married you for access. When everything fell apart, she decided to murder me and use my house as an exit strategy. You were collateral damage. I don't believe you. I slid a USB drive across the table. All the evidence is there. Richard gathered. The FBI already knows. They're building a case against Charles Whitmore and Victoria. If you cooperate, they'll reduce your charges. You'll still do time, Marcus, but maybe not 20 years. He stared at the USB drive like it was a bomb. Why are you helping me? He whispered. After everything I did. I looked at my son, really looked at him. I saw the boy who'd skinned his knee learning to ride a bike, the teenager who'd cried on my shoulder when his first girlfriend dumped him, the man who'd given the most beautiful eulogy at his father's funeral, and I saw the broken, manipulated fool who'd let a monster convince him that murdering his mother was a reasonable solution. Because you're my son, I said, and despite everything, I love you. But Marcus, hear me clearly. I will never forgive you for what you tried to do. I will never trust you again. I will help you because I don't want you to die in prison. But we're done. Do you understand? We are done. he sobbed. Mom, please cooperate with the FBI. Do your time. Get help, and never contact me again. I stood up and walked out. Behind me, I could hear him screaming my name. I didn't look back. The trial was a media circus. Victoria pleaded not guilty, claiming I'd fabricated everything out of spite because I didn't want her to have my house. Her attorney painted me as a manipulative, controlling mother-in-law who couldn't accept her son's marriage. But the evidence was overwhelming. The video footage, the lab results confirming cyanide, the FBI's investigation into the Whitmore family operation, Marcus's testimony, delivered via video link from prison, detailing how Victoria had manipulated him step by step. The jury took 4 hours to convict her of attempted murder. She was sentenced to 25 years. As they led her out of the courtroom, she turned and looked at me one last time. I hope you enjoy your empty house, she said. I hope you die alone in it, thinking about what you destroyed. I didn't flinch. I didn't destroy anything. You did. 6 months later, I was sitting in my kitchen drinking coffee from my Italian blend, the real kind, unpoisoned, just the way I liked it. Rachel had stopped by with her kids. Thomas called from Seattle, where he'd just gotten promoted. My grandchildren, Rachel's 2 boys, were playing in the garden I'd cultivated for 30 years. I was alive. I was free. I was surrounded by the family that actually loved me, but there was an emptiness at the table where Marcus used to sit. He was serving 7 years in minimum security, with eligibility for parole in 4. He'd cooperated with the FBI, helped dismantle Charles Whitmore's entire operation. He'd written me letters, dozens of them. I'd read every one, then filed them away without responding. I couldn't forgive him. Maybe I never would. But I thought about him, wondered if he was okay, wondered if his child, my grandchild, would ever know him. Victoria had given birth in prison. A girl. She'd been placed with Victoria's mother until Victoria's sentence was complete. Rachel had asked if I wanted to meet her, my granddaughter. I hadn't answered yet. The phone rang while I was washing dishes. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello, Mrs. Walker. A woman's voice, professional but warm. My name is Jennifer Hayes. I'm a social worker with Child Protective Services. I'm calling about your granddaughter Sophia. My heart stopped. Is she okay? She's fine, but her grandmother Victoria's mother has had a stroke. She can no longer care for Sophia. We've tried to place her with other family, but given the circumstances, there aren't many options. Victoria has requested that we reach out to you. Victoria requested I take her child. I couldn't keep the bitterness from my voice. The woman who tried to murder me. I know, the situation is complicated, Jennifer said carefully, but Sophia is 6 months old. She's innocent in all of this, and she's your granddaughter. You're her only stable family option. If you refuse, she goes into foster care. I closed my eyes, thought about Marcus's letter last week, the one that had said, if anything happens to my daughter, please don't let her end up in the system, please. I'd ignored that letter like all the others, but now, can I meet her? I heard myself ask, before I decide. Of course, when would be convenient? Tomorrow, I said. Tomorrow morning. Sophia had her father's eyes. I knew it the moment Jennifer placed her in my arms. Dark brown, serious, watching me with an intelligence that seemed impossible for such a tiny creature. She didn't cry, just stared at me, her small hand reaching up to touch my face. And something inside me, something I'd thought Victoria had killed, flickered back to life. Hello, sweetheart, I whispered. I'm your grandmother. Sophia made a small cooing sound and grabbed my finger. Jennifer was watching me carefully. She's a very sweet baby, healthy, meeting all her developmental milestones. Given your age and the circumstances, we'd need to do a full evaluation before placing her with you permanently. But if you're willing to consider temporary placement, I'll take her, I said. You don't want time to think about it. I looked down at this child, this innocent life, born from such ugliness and pain, my son's daughter, my granddaughter. I've already thought about it, I said. She stays with me. That night, I sat in the nursery I'd hastily set up in what used to be Marcus's childhood bedroom. Sophia was asleep in a bassinet Rachel had brought over, her tiny chest rising and falling in perfect rhythm. I thought about everything I'd lost, my son, my trust, my sense of safety in my own home, but I thought about what I'd gained too, my life, my dignity, my freedom, and now, this child, this chance to do better, to love without being destroyed by it. Rachel knocked softly on the door. Mom, you okay? I'm fine, I said. And I meant it. She came and sat beside me, both of us watching Sophia sleep. Do you think Marcus knows? She asked quietly. About Sophia being here? I don't know. Maybe. Are you going to tell him? I thought about it. Thought about my son, alone in prison, paying for his crimes and his stupidity. Thought about the letters I hadn't answered, the relationship I'd ended. Eventually, I said, when I'm ready, when I can look at him and not see the man who tried to kill me, when I can see just my son again, if that's even possible. Do you think it is? Rachel asked. Possible. I watched Sophia's small face, so peaceful in sleep, so untouched by the darkness that had created her. I don't know, I admitted, but I'm going to try. Not for him, for her. She deserves to know her father, even if he's broken, even if he hurt me. She deserves better than what we all did to each other. Rachel leaned her head on my shoulder. You're stronger than I ever knew, Mom. I'm not strong, I said. I'm just still here. That's all any of us can do. Survive, endure, keep going, and love. I looked at Sophia, at this tiny miracle born from such terrible circumstances. And love, I agreed. Always love. Just more carefully now. Marcus called 2 weeks later. I'd been expecting it. The prison grapevine was efficient, and someone had obviously told him about Sophia. I stood in my kitchen, phone in hand, staring at the number that had once been so familiar, and was now just another reminder of everything that had broken. I answered, double quotes, Mom, double quotes. His voice was rough, uncertain. Is it true? Is she with you? Yes. A long silence. Then, thank you. I know you don't owe me anything. I know I don't deserve, you don't, I said flatly. But she does. She deserves a home, a family, love. So I'm giving her that. Can I? He paused. Can I see her? Eventually when I get out. I thought about it. Really thought about it. Maybe, I said finally. If you prove you've changed. If you get help. If you become the man I thought I raised instead of the man you turned into. Maybe, that's more than I have any right to ask for. It is. Another pause. Then, quieter. I'm sorry, Mom, for everything. I know that doesn't fix anything. I know you'll never forgive me. But I need you to know I see it now. What I did, what I almost did, and it destroys me every single day. Good, I said. It should. I hung up, but I didn't block his number. That was 8 months ago. Today, Sophia is 14 months old. She's walking, babbling, getting into everything. My house Victoria wanted so badly she tried to murder me, for it is filled with toys and laughter and mess. Rachel visits twice a week. Thomas came for 2 weeks over Christmas and fell completely in love with his niece. Even my friends from book club have adopted Sophia as their collective grandchild. And Marcus writes, every week, like clockwork, letters describing his therapy sessions, his reading, his slowly developing understanding of what he did and why. Letters that apologize without asking for forgiveness. Letters that ask about Sophia but never demand access. I've started writing back, short notes, updates on Sophia's development. Nothing personal. Nothing that suggests forgiveness or reconciliation. But it's something. A thread. A possibility. I don't know if I'll ever truly forgive my son. I don't know if we'll ever have the relationship we once had. But I know this. Sophia will not pay for her parents' sins. She will grow up knowing love, knowing safety, knowing that family, real family, doesn't give up on each other, even when it's hard, even when it hurts, even when trust has been shattered and rebuilt so many times that the pieces don't quite fit together anymore. Last week, I was giving Sophia a bath when she looked up at me and said her first real word, Mama. I know she meant me. I know I'm raising her, but I also know that somewhere in a prison 4 hours away, her actual father is trying desperately to become someone worthy of being called that. Maybe he will, maybe he won't, but I'm done sacrificing myself for my children's mistakes. I'm done being the victim in someone else's story. This is my house, my life, my granddaughter, and I'm still here, still standing, still fighting, still loving more carefully, more wisely, with harder boundaries and clearer eyes. Victoria is in prison for 23 more years. Charles Whitmore got 40 years for fraud. Marcus will be out in 3 years if he keeps his record clean. And me, I'm 63 now. My hair has more gray than it did. My hands shake sometimes when I think about how close I came to dying. But I'm alive, and in the end, that's what matters. I survived. I protected myself. I claimed my dignity in my life, and my home. And I'm teaching Sophia that same lesson, the one Victoria never learned. The one Marcus forgot. Your life is yours. Never let anyone, not even family, not even people who claim to love you, convince you it's worth less than what they want. Never let them poison you. Never let them take what's yours. And never, ever stop fighting for the life you deserve. That's the story I'll tell her when she's old enough to understand. Not a fairy tale. Not a tragedy. Just the truth. That her grandmother was almost murdered by her parents. That I survived. That I still found room in my heart to love her when the world would have given up, because that's what mothers do. We endure, we adapt, we survive, and we protect the innocent, even when it costs us everything. Sophia laughs from her playpen, reaching her arms up to me. I lift her, hold her close, breathe in that baby smell that means hope and second chances and futures still unwritten. I've got you, I whisper. I've got you, and I'm never letting go. My phone buzzes. Another letter from Marcus, scanned and emailed by the prison system. I don't open it yet. Maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow, maybe never, but probably tonight. Because, despite everything, despite the poison and the betrayal and the years of trust destroyed in a single, horrifying revelation, he's still my son, and I'm still his mother. And some threads, no matter how frayed, never completely break. They just change, transform, become something different than they were. Stronger in some places, weaker in others, but still there, still connecting us, still binding us, still proving that family is the most complicated, dangerous, beautiful thing in the world, and I'm still here to navigate it, still standing in my kitchen, in my house, with my granddaughter in my arms, and my future, whatever it holds, entirely my own. Victoria wanted to take that from me. She failed. I'm still here, and I'm not going anywhere.